Hey guys, dwburman here with another video for Lightwave 3D and how to use it, and another possibly useless technique. We'll see. Lightwave 3D, this is what we're going to be using for this. However, let's take a look at Anime Studio Pro. This is a program I'm starting to learn. It has something called Smart Bones, where basically you can use the rotation of a bone to control points moving in a morph. It's not quite as simple as this thing moves. When you move this other thing, you can actually have the animation change throughout time in a non-linear fashion. So that's kind of what we're going to look at in Lightwave. Now Lightwave, if you just want to do animation, there's a motion modifier called Cycler that will allow you to do that, or you can set a frame range and set the animation in the frame range, then you can move many different parts in a whole configuration by just animating one object. And I've never actually used Cycler. I've seen tutorials on it, but I was always slightly intimidated for some reason. But I'm going to use nodes for this. Say we wanted to rotate this around here, but instead of just animating it like this, we wanted to have this object cloned all over geometry in a hard manner, as in it's not instance, it's actually the geometry is whatever. I'm being very inarticulate. It's a little late at night, as you can see. So essentially what I want to do is I want to do what we can do in Anime Studio Pro, but using morphs. So if we rotate it like this, it's fine, it looks great, you can see it's doing exactly what we expect it to do. However, if I use a morph to move it from this position here to the end position, let's see what happens. So I'll just add morph mixer, and I have one morph target in there now, and I drag it, and hey, it's in the new position, but as it's going there, it just slides straight across. It does not warp out here. So we want it, it's moving in a linear fashion, and we want it to move in an arcing fashion, or at least a not exactly an arcing fashion, but close to it. There we go. So let's jump over to Modeler, and we'll make our morph targets. As you can tell, I already have one set for up, and I have one set for base. So let's make a new morph target. So we'll hit new, and we will do this. We'll call this base 1, and we'll rotate this up a few degrees until it's about halfway between. If you want this to move in an even rate of speed, you'll want these in-between positions to be actual in-between, but I'm not going to worry about it for demonstration purposes. So hit new again, we'll make a new one, and we'll call this one mid. We'll hit create. We'll put that into the midpoint, and we'll do another one, and we'll call this mid. Call it mid 1. Not the best naming scheme, I guess, but whatever. Trying to get my pointer in the middle. There we go. And we'll put it between. So what we wanted it to do is we want it to move from the base to base 1 to mid 1, and then to up. So it's going to be still moving linear because it's linearly because it is a morph, but there are going to be several steps in between. So it'll be like from here to here, and or from here to here, here to here, whatever. That's the basic setup for the morph. I'm tired of talking about that now. So let's go over to layout and do the amazing stuff. Okay, so let's turn off the morph mixer, and I'll point out this top area up here. We do have the ability to morph through multiple targets with a single envelope. What this allows us to do is if we save the same object or the same basic geometry in different positions or different poses, In other words, we have a separate object for each morph target instead of everything in morph maps. We can use this up here. And there is a multi-target single envelope, so you can actually slide through multiple morphs. And we're going to do that, but I'm going to do it in the node editor instead. So let's click on Edit Nodes. First thing we want to do is we want to add morph maps. So we have 3 of them, or 4 of them rather. So let's add 4 morph map things. We'll go to Vertex Map, Morph Map, and I will pick one. We'll leave the base at the top, so we don't need to actually select one for base. Base 1 is our second position. Copy and paste. Now these are all relative maps when I created them, so they're going to be relative type in here. And base 2, then mid. Where is mid-O coming from? Those must be left over from an older version, or the other object in the scene. So copy and paste using Control V, Control C, Control V. And mid 1 I think was the other one. Copy and paste. And the last one is up. And let's check these. Just plug the output up. Okay, there's our end position. Should be our second to last position. Here's our mid position. That's a big jump between those two. And there's our other ones. Let's switch this mid 1 position down a little bit more. And let's compare that to our base 1. That's better. Okay, so now we're going to use the magic of gradients, because I am who I am and I like using gradients. I made an entire tutorial on using gradients. You can buy that at liberty3d.com. I tried to go through the entire program of Lightwave and find every type of gradient input and demonstrate it. I got everything, I think, except for the advanced cameras. I forgot that. Anyway, we will now double click on this and we will open it up. First of all, let's go over to the surface editor, and I will show you the basic setup, and we will turn on VPR. Now you notice if I turn VPR off that I have this disk here that's moving up and down. You might notice that the color over here is changing. What's happening is I've tied the gradient input to the position of this object. So when this object moves from 0, the scalar input is 0. And when I move this up to 1, the scalar input is 1, or 100%. So that's what's going on with that. But I'm using a gradient to do that, and essentially what I'm doing is I'm making the entire object be this number, the input number, and the input number is just kind of sliding through here. So anything I do between this will be affected. So if I add another color in here, and we'll say it's let's make it black. You'll notice the color swatch here as I slide back through. It goes to black right there at when the object is at 340 millimeters. So this would be about 3.35. So yep, that's what's going on. You can see as it's kind of inverted from what this looks like, but you can see at the very bottom it's pink, and as I slide it up it goes through yellow and then ends up at red at the top, which matches down here. We're going to do the same thing but with the morph map. So I'm just going to copy all this stuff. It'll save a couple of seconds. So we'll copy all of that and go back over to our object and go to the node editor, and I will paste it in. There's all our stuff. Okay, let's get rid of the gradient we added before. And we'll just drop the color directly into the input, and you're going to see horrible, horrible things happen. And I'll explain that in a bit. First of all, we need to double click on the gradient. We need to expose these keys. So we'll go to the second one here, because the first one is the base, and we want the base to be our baseline. So second one is our base 1. So we'll plug our base 1 in there into the color. It's base 1. So now our second one here is going to be this other one here. So let's show the output, so we can drag this into the output. And then we will click on this next one here, show output, and do the mid 2 or mid 1, whatever we called it. And then finally the up position, we'll drag that into there. And you'll see horrible things happen. But again, what's going on is we are moving from our base position to our first morph map and then the second one. But you notice it's just all horrible. What's going on here is we're using a color gradient node because we don't have a vector gradient node, and because I'm using the color space settings, this is actually applying a gamma correction to this, and it's really throwing things off. So what we're going to use is a free node from db&w tools. It's in the db&w, or free node from db&w, free plugin from db&w. It's in their db&w tools pack, and it is the color space nodes. We'll just grab that and we'll plug it in between the gradient and in the displacement. So let's see what happens now when we do that. It's still screwed up, but we haven't changed any settings. Interesting. Color OU, color O. Anyway, we'll set the input color space. We'll set the output to sRGB and see what happens. Hey, look, there's something. I think we have an extra bit of animation in there. Or something. I don't know why it's sliding in and out like that. But that kind of takes care of one of the problems anyway. Let me check on that object. Although that would be the base position, so that should be normal. Okay, it was working earlier, but actually that's the basic setup right there. So let me load up the other scene. Or that is the scene. Shoot. Let me load up a different version of the object and see if that fixes it. Replace object. Replace with object. Go back to the original, and nope. So it's something in our settings. Well, let's troubleshoot, because what good is a tutorial if it doesn't teach you how to troubleshoot? Particularly a free one that wasn't planned out in advance. Oh, I'm missing something. That got disconnected somehow. No. Different named. Oh, let's see. The first key has a color, that's why. Da 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 da. Okay. There we go. That should about do it. Except that's not quite working. Base 1. So at key position 2.5, that should be there. Okay, so base 1 looks like it's off. It's because I changed the version of the model, which has a different naming convention. Lovely. Okay, let's try this again. So that would be mid O. Fun times. Of course, I could have just replaced it back with the original object. So this would be that might be it. Yeah. Okay. as you can see though, it's kind of moving up and then back down again, so that means our third one here is not set right. So that should be maybe mid-0 on the first one. That is. And this should be mid-2. Okay. All the trouble I get for changing objects. Okay. So here's our flapping motion. What do you expect? It's a free one. So it's moving linear from one segment to another because we're not getting a perfect distance around our outer reference circle. But if it's something that's far away, you won't notice it. Now the question is, why would you use this? Well, you could use this technique in a few different ways. If you wanted to have a bunch of these flapping things all over a ship or something, and you didn't want to use instancing, you just wanted to do it all in Modeler, you could set up your morph targets and then clone this all over your model. You could possibly use it to make more complicated joint morphs or correction morphs for when you're actually doing character animation. You might be able to plug the rotation of the bone in through the gradient. You might need a little adjustment, but that would work. If you wanted to do a flock of birds and you wanted to use morph targets for doing that, generally for a lot of these things we might use baked out MDD or just use instancing. So I don't know exactly how useful this will be, but if you happen to need to use morphs to animate something, here's a way to do it with nodes just running through the several different morph targets. Again, just using a gradient. I'll open that up again. Objects, properties, nodes. Here's the whole complex looking node thing. Let's walk through this other part that you didn't see. There's our output. There's the color space node to correct for the color space correction. There's our gradient. Here are our morph maps. Here is a vector scaler. Basically all this is doing is saying, hey, use the Y channel from the item info, and the item info is of course this control item here, this disk that's moving up and down. We could plug the rotation in and use it based on rotation instead of height, but I'm just using rotation. If we didn't have that plugged in at all, we could just use the we could plug a scalar in, a constant, and just animate that. Where is the scalar constant? So I could plug this into the input, and if I wanted it to be at the 0.25 position, I can make it to 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, anything in between. And of course you can click on the E and drive it with any of the modifiers you have in here. That's a little fast, although I don't know why I'm messing with the settings. It's just for a demo. So, or you could, tie it to something else using an expression. There's lots of things you can do with this, different ways to do that. So, there we go. Basically, moving through a range of morphs using a gradient. I don't know the better way to say that. Maybe I'll figure something out before I post it. I will point out that I do still have some videos for sale at liberty3d.com. I haven't made one recently, as in the last, several months, but we do have a bundle now of all of the mechanical displays videos that cover a variety of subjects, all related to the same basic type of animation. However, I go through using DP kit as far as part move. I'm using DP filter to actually just change the colors of things rather than having them move, like making a low resolution display type of thing. I also show how to use, in the bonus section of the first one, I show how to use morphs to make the little animations. So hard to describe what it is exactly without showing you. Bullet hits bundles, covers deformations and texturing and some particle effects. Again, we have the Understanding Gradient, which shows all about gradients, and the Space Tune Volume 1, which eventually, hopefully someday, I'll come up with Volume 2. But this basically covers the edge effects in Lightwave 11.6 or 11.5, as well as some texturing and just a general all-around project workflow. So that's what I have on liberty3d.com. Check out the other great content at liberty3d.com. We have artists adding content every month. So just because I haven't done out anything recently doesn't mean there's not lots of great content out there being done. So again, come to liberty3d.com. Subscribe to this channel so that you will eventually get updates whenever I eventually come out with another video. And have a great holiday. Thanks for watching.